This video tutorial explains how to access and interact with the tabular reports available in the Transit Network Analysis software tool. The button located on the far right of the OTA floating dialog box must be clicked to access the tabular reports menu control. This action displays four main categories of tabular reports, labeled statewide reports, connectivity reports, employment reports, and Title VI reports. It is important to mention that the labels in the tabular reports menu control that are displayed in bold typeface provide access to other tabular reports, or they can be clicked to display a specific type of tabular report. For example, if the mouse is hovered over the label statewide reports, additional tabular report categories are displayed. However, if the label statewide reports is clicked, a new tab is opened by the browser to display the statewide summary report. In contrast, labels in the tabular reports menu control that are not displayed in bold typeface only provide access to other types of tabular reports. For example, if the mouse is hovered over the label connectivity reports, four additional tabular report categories are displayed. The Transit Agency Reports category will be used to demonstrate the general features and controls of tabular reports. When the label Transit Agency Reports is clicked, the Transit Agency Summary Report is displayed. The data displayed by the Transit Agency Summary Report is organized in a table composed of 10 columns. The general arrangement of controls in tabular reports will be explained next. The title of the report is always displayed on the top left corner of the browser window. Also, all tabular reports have a button located on the upper right corner of the browser window to close the report. To the left of the Close button, there's a drop-down list for selecting the source for GTFS data. By default, tabular reports are populated using the most recent GTFS data source available. Selecting a GTFS data source other than the default source will automatically refresh the tabular report. Every column header of the Transit Agency Summary Report includes a blue-colored tooltip icon. Hovering the mouse over this icon presents more information about the data included in the column. If applicable, the tooltip will also explain how a particular metric in the tabular report is calculated. A small up-down arrow control is visible in some of the column headers. The up-down arrow control allows the user to sort the tabular report based on the data in that column. For instance, clicking on the up-down arrow control for the column Total Routes sorts the Transit Agency Summary Report in ascending order with respect to the number of routes. Clicking on the up-down arrow control once again sorts the reports in descending order. The columns labeled Geographic Areas, Fare, and Feed Information display a down arrow control. When the down arrow control is clicked, the tabular report expands the row to show additional information pertaining to the above categories for a specific transit agency. Clicking the down arrow control again collapses the row to hide the additional information. The tabular reports available in the Transit Network Analysis software tool typically display multiple records. Sometimes displaying all the records in a single page of a tabular report is not practical. To improve the user experience, records are organized in multiple pages in the tabular reports. The set of controls located at the bottom of the browser window are used to navigate through the records displayed in the tabular report. A label indicating the number of entries displayed on the current page of the tabular report is shown on the left-hand side of the browser window. In this example, records 1 to 14 are being displayed out of a total of 64 records. Above this label, a text box is provided to allow a user to search for specific data in the tabular report. As an example, typing the letters R, O, and G will narrow the selections to 2 transit agencies. Any value in the transit agency summary report displayed as a hyperlink allows access to other types of tabular reports. For example, clicking on a value in the column labeled Agency ID will open the Transit Agency Extended Report for the transit agency selected. The Transit Agency Extended Report contains additional controls that are common to other tabular reports. These controls are used to specify additional parameters that are used to calculate service metrics. Service metrics are identified in tabular reports by rows highlighted in gray. The population drop-down list is used to select a specific population source. The year 2010 is selected by default, since this is the most current census dataset available through the U.S. Census Bureau. Other years can be selected for the population source. It is important to mention that these additional years, in increments of 5 years from 2010, are only projections. Selecting a population source other than the default from the drop-down list automatically updates the tabular report. Below the toolbar, a date picker control is shown. The date picker control is available in tabular reports that have date-dependent metrics. Clicking on the date picker control opens up a calendar which allows a user to select one or multiple dates. Depending on the type of tabular report, the user may have the flexibility to modify additional numerical inputs to explore how these inputs impact certain service metrics. For instance, the transit agency summary report allows the user to change the population search radius in miles, which in turn affects the computation of the population served by the transit agency. Once all the inputs such as population source, service dates, and population search radius have been set, the Submit button located below the Close button must be clicked to update the tabular report. All tabular reports have 2 buttons to either export data or print data from a tabular report. These buttons are labeled Export to CSV and Print Report. When the button labeled Export to CSV is clicked, the data in the tabular report is saved as a comma-separated values file. The user will be presented with different controls to save the comma-separated values file, depending on whether Google Chrome or Firefox is used as the browser of choice. When the button labeled Print Report is clicked, the tabular report is formatted to make it printer-friendly.